Dr. Felicia Adderley, and you're watching Eliot Kelly TV. Never lose your passion.
Welcome to another dynamic episode of Eliot Kelly TV. I have with me Mr. Edwin Dearborn. Our topic today, we're going to be talking about growth driven. He's reigning all the way from Newport Beach, California is where he's from, but he's actually in Vegas, baby. Welcome to Eliot Kelly TV.
All right, Eliot Kelly TV, thank you so much for having me.
Good stuff. Now, we noticed that you're also an author. Tell us about your books, first of all, and then we're going to talk about your baby, Growth Driven.
Yeah. So about 4 or 5 years ago, my first book, which you can get on Amazon, is called Power Branding Secrets. And that's just how to build a brand. I wrote that for small business people, entrepreneurs that feel a little overwhelmed, and kind of simplified the process of, what is a brand? How do we build a brand? Number two, the second book I have is 3 Degrees of Separation. That's an ebook on Kindle, only 99 cents US. And that's really the concept of how do we grow our layers and our influence with social media to make the contacts like I'm making with you via one of my contacts. And we all have these degrees of separation, and if we do social media right, my concept is we're only 3 degrees away from our biggest opportunity.
Certainly. Before we go into anything, I like to take an aside there. For the entrepreneur who's new into entrepreneurship, and a lot of them come into this with the money. I gotta get the bag. How important and crucial are relationships based on what you just said?
I mean, they're everything, because look, money will flow to the degree that there's trust. Nobody buys from a brand they distrust from. So to the degree that you build the quantitative amount of trust with the quantitative amount of people, that, as many people say, like Grant Cardone says, your net worth is in your network. But if your network is small, or they don't trust you, you're not going to get referrals. You're not going to be invited to the party. You're not going to be welcomed in open arms to be co-branded with.
Thank you. As far as growth driven, what has been your greatest challenge with that project?
Well, we just launched it. I think my greatest challenge was, we're creating a podcast and a YouTube show. I've done a lot of YouTube videos. I've probably done 300 YouTube videos, but I'm rebranding it. And really it was, okay, now we live in a new era since quarantine. So caffeinated content, I would go to coffee shops and I would set up my camera, but the coffee shops were closed, so I wasn't going to coffee shops. So I had to kind of okay, well, now that I'm in this quarantine mode, I'm going to have to do it from home. I can't do it from coffee shops. And we've got new problems and challenges. So now I have to rise above those challenges. So the idea was, how do we drive growth in this new economy?
Great. That's awesome, because that's what we're going to be talking about. A lot of our persons that are listening, they automatically assume that success in business is this straight trajectory. And I noticed you laugh. You're telling us that there has to be that pivot, that ability to pivot. Tell us other times when you've had to actually utilize that pivoting skill during the growth process.
Well, I think that, you bring up a good point. It's never a straight line. I mean, you look at Elon Musk, it wasn't a straight line. You look at Abraham Lincoln, it wasn't a straight line. You look at anybody, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., the guy who founded Virgin Airlines over there in England.
Sir Richard Branson, yeah.
Sir Richard Branson. Nobody's had a straight line. So if the greats of history haven't had a straight line, you're not going to have a straight line. And I believe that the ups and downs is a necessary part to really learn to make you stronger. Without stress, A grape doesn't make wine. I don't know if you know this, but in winemaking, you have to put a little bit of stress on the grape and the vine to make it sweet. For a diamond, you have to put pressure on a piece of coal to make a diamond. So stress and pressure, when leveraged correctly, create valuable things, great commodities. And I believe that's true of us as well. What I've had to overcome, honestly, is my own willingness to learn new skills. No matter how smart you think you are, you're not that smart, And so you have to constantly kind of go, okay, I need new skill sets, and I'm going to have to take my skills and knowledge to another level, particularly with this world and how fast technology is evolving. It evolves so fast that the minute you stop learning, you become irrelevant to that degree. And I think you always have to stay in the present by always learning and honing your craft and learning new skills. I was watching a YouTube video with a billionaire, Warren Buffett. Everybody knows Warren Buffett. And he said that one of the things that changed his life the most is that he reads 5 hours a day. Now, can you imagine taking 5 hours of your day and reading or listening to podcasts, whatever it is that you do for learn? Some read, some listen to podcasts or watch shows like this, but you're spending 5 hours developing your mind, your soul, your strength. And I think if people even put a third of that level or just an hour or two into constantly developing the skills, then they'll have what it takes to overcome the challenges.
Wow, that's really deep. And speaking of deep, you reminded me of Michael Phelps. His story is just an amazing one. Persons were trying to understand, what was the key to his success? And he said it was simple. I just spent all my time in the water. And it seems so practical.
Right. Yeah, I just did a lot of swimming.
I just did a lot of swimming. And he would practice in the morning. He would break, train, and then practice in the midday. Break, train, and then practice in the evening. With that sort of practice, then everything then becomes, you become the master of yourself in that regard. I appreciate that. You also spoke about pressure and the diamonds. When they first, are you familiar with the company Titleist? Are you a golfer?
No, I'm not a golfer.
That's fine. When they first started creating those balls, they didn't have the pivots, the little holes in them. So They realized that there were lots of complaints being generated that the balls weren't going far enough. So one of the design engineers on the team actually put the indentations by accident, and someone actually struck one of the balls and it went further than the ball had actually ever gone before. And again, it alludes to your point that there has to be that degree of stress to actually produce that sort of level of perfection or success.
Yes, I absolutely agree. You need to have, the thing is, you can't learn in a bubble. Michael Phelps had to go through the physical strain and pain, probably on a daily basis. And there was probably times where his muscles hurt and his resolve was not that strong. It's like, why, I'm spending all of my time in the water. And it took 10 years of that before he ever saw a medal, in the Olympic Games. So he had to have that 10-year vision of every day I'm in pain. I'm one step closer to that gold medal. And you bring up a good point, which is how long does it take to build a brand as an entrepreneur? How much pain, how much time in that water? As Malcolm Gladwell said in his book Outliers, it's the 10,000 hour rule. Michael Phelps put 10,000 hours in the water. The Beatles put 10,000 hours practicing guitars before they had their first hit on Ed Sullivan. That's there's this idea of thinking it happens once in a while, but in reality, there's 10,000 hours of trial and error and success and failure and ups and downs and bankruptcy and sometimes, and before you get that overnight success.
Thank you, Edwin. Now, again, we're moving along the lines of things don't always go right. Tell us about a time, Edwin, when things didn't go right for you.
I remember in 2000, was it 2007, 2008 when the economy crashed?
2007, 2008, yeah?
Yeah. And, you know, I had a way of making money, and all the people that I was making money from were no longer making money. It's almost like you're a rancher, and all of a sudden this massive hurricane and flood just takes all your cattle and your farm away. And everything you had that was making you money, all your resources get swept away in a matter of weeks. And you're sitting there going, I used to have cattle, I used to have a ranch, and now I don't have anything. And that was a point where I had to work several jobs, you know, moonlighting as they call it, where I was working 14 hours a day just to pay the rent. Fortunately though, and this is where I think the entrepreneur can turn lemonade from his lemons. So I'm given this giant basket of lemons. My money's gone, stress. I also was having a new child at the time, so now my expenses were going up. It was the perfect storm economically in a negative way. And right at that time in 2008, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube were just emerging into something that people were talking about and doing. And for some intuitive reason, I said, this will be the future of business. I don't know how, but this video thing called YouTube and this social networking, somehow it's going to result in business. I didn't know, I just intuitively. So I had a friend who was making a lot of money in internet marketing while everybody was going broke. And I went to his house a couple nights before Christmas because I was out of money. And I knocked on his door at 10 o'clock at night. And his name's Bill McIntosh. I said, Bill, I don't know what you're doing. You live in a beautiful mansion. You drive a $100,000 car. You know, you're doing something right while everybody's going broke. I need a job. Just teach me what you're doing. He's like, show up Monday. I'll give you a job.
Wow.
So that Christmas week, I went to work for him about 4 hours a day. That was my moonlight job. And I went out and sold websites. I didn't know anything about websites. So I got the book by David Meerman Scott called The New Rules of Marketing and PR. And I faked it till I maked it. I just was out selling the stuff while reading late at night, learning about this thing called the internet and blogs and backlinks. And, you know, this is whole new world that I never knew, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the pressure that turned me into a diamond. And then after about 3 years of that, I got really good at it. I understood it, and I started to write and blog myself and started to educate and teach. And I was like, you know what, this is where I belong. I'm going to be the business development guy for whoever I serve, because everybody needs clients.
Yeah.
So, and that's always the weakness. So I said, I may not know bookkeeping, but I'll get you bookkeeping clients. I may not know air conditioning, but I'll get you air conditioning clients. Let me be your chief marketing officer, if you will, and I'll be the business development guy. And everybody said, great, because we don't know how to do it. And so that crash of 2008 forced me to learn a new skill, which eventually now has created a whole new business for me.
Wow, that's amazing. What do you love most about marketing?
You know what I love most about marketing is having somebody be inspired by what you write or produce, so much so that they want to take action in some way. You know, like, wow, I read your article and now I want to sign up for this program, or I want to buy your book, or I want to learn a new way. I think marketing has the ability to influence and change minds and lives if you do it right. I also like storytelling. And I think storytelling done right, corporate storytelling, when it's genuine from the heart and it seeks to inspire better people in a better world, I think, you know, some epic brands do it great. Like Nike is a great storyteller. You know, you look at some of these, Apple is a great storyteller with their content. And I look at that and I'm like, man, You use this aesthetic wavelength and this emotional impact to get people to do things. And I get paid for it. I can make money doing this as well, you know? So it was kind of like business meets storytelling meets affecting people in a positive way.
Awesome. If you haven't, you can go ahead and find the book you mentioned, Nike, which is Phil Knight's Shoe Dog. That is an amazing piece of work. If you haven't already, that's a good one to grab for our audience as well. Many of the persons that are sitting, watching, or listening to this show, no matter what they're doing, some of them have been unemployed as a result of the pandemic. So prior to the pandemic, they may have been up here as far as income, and you spoke about being at ground zero. They are hearing about social media. They're seeing me, they're seeing you on social media, the Grant Cardones, the Tai Lopez's out there, and Gary V's. What steps can they take to expand their brand as a result of today's show?
Great question. I think there's two very, very important things. And this is a critical time to really evaluate. So number one, it starts with self. Who am I and what value can I offer the world? You really have to be set and convinced that this is where you belong in the world. Because if you've got a fake purpose and you try to fake your value, sooner or later people find out.
Definitely.
So I don't care if it's like you're Marie Callender and you make just good pies. I make good pies. I'm really good at, if that's your skill set, I want you to go with making good pies. So just be genuine with who you are and what value you can bring. Because if you believe in that value and it's genuinely your value, you'll be able to communicate that convincingly, and somebody will go, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I think you have to be very set and strong with who you are in a very genuine place. Number two, pick a platform that you're willing to learn. And I say this with a lot of experience, because one of the things that we tend to do incorrectly as marketers is we tell them everything they can do. And immediately it creates this feeling of being overwhelmed. So I ask my clients when I begin, I go, what is the one thing that you're willing to do with digital media? They go, well, I have an email database and I should probably do more email. I said, good, we're going with email and we're going to master email. We're going to get really good at it. Or they go, I do have Facebook. I don't like Twitter and I'm not willing, I don't understand podcasts. I said, good, let's master Facebook. What about Facebook can you do? Can you do memes? Can you write? Can you do Facebook Lives? If I get you doing really well and winning at one thing on one platform, your willingness to do more on others will grow. So I think is focus on something that you'll do consistently and increase your competence at. And when you master that, you'll feel more, it's almost like you can't go from white belt to black belt. Go from white belt, yellow belt's good. It's a good step. Take 3 months and get your yellow belt. Then take another 3 months and get your orange belt. And then your green belt. And then your purple belt. You know, like it takes 7 years to move up the ranks in martial arts. And everybody's looking at black belt, but they don't realize that moving from white belt to yellow belt is how you get to black belt eventually. Just get your next belt.
Thank you. I totally resonate with that gradient. You know, in Alcoholics Anonymous, they tell you instead of trying to quit for the next 10 years, quit today. Deal with today. And I love that message that you're sharing.
It's a good message.
Certainly. How can persons get in contact with you, Edwin?
Well, there's two ways. They can go to my new website called virtualcmo.expert, not .com, .expert, virtualcmo.expert, or just go to LinkedIn and type in Edwin Dearborn, and I'll probably be the only Edwin Dearborn in America, and you'll see me there. Also, you can go to Amazon or Kindle, type in Edwin Dearborn, my books will come up, and that's a great way. I made my ebook very affordable. It's only 99 cents. I didn't want to make any money off it. 99 cents was the lowest amount they would allow me to charge. So that's why I made it that. I don't make any money off the sale. I just thought, here's my contribution to business people. It's 99 cents. Go learn, get start building your brand with us.
Thank you. We have a direct question from Grand Bahama in the Bahamas. And
Okay,
the question is from Steven. He wants to post across several platforms, several social platforms. Do you suggest any particular softwares that he may use?
Well, there's a lot of them you can pay for. Zoho has a free version that I think allows you to post for free a couple of times a day to like 2 or 3 platforms. And then you can get a paid version. Last time I checked, Zoho was $15 for like per month. I mean, there's ones that are a lot more expensive, but I think if you're just starting out, I think Zoho is a great way to just start out.
We do have a quote today. Growth is often uncomfortable, messy, and filled with feelings you weren't expecting, but it is necessary, and the author is actually unknown. You've been watching Eliot Kelly TV with Edwin Dearborn all the way from Las Vegas. Vegas, baby, in the house. Any parting words of motivation for our clients out there?
I believe that the strength within you is bigger than any challenge on the outside. Don't let the outside world get on the inside and taint it. You project your bigness on that world. I'm telling you, it's waiting for someone like you to deliver what you do. There's not enough people out there projecting their bigness, projecting their humanity. And when you go out there with a genuine heart to help people, someone is going to resonate and you're going to find your place to flourish.
Definitely a connection between us. I love your humility, and you are absolutely right. People only do business with persons they know, like, and trust. You've been watching Eliot Kelly TV. Our topic today was growth driven. That's growth driven. Never lose your passion. Thank you.